A U.S. federal judge in New York on Thursday threw out a defamation case filed by Canadian rapper Drake against his own label, Universal Music Group, over Kendrick Lamar's viral diss track. In 2024, the superstar rappers exchanged a litany of increasingly vitriolic songs, with Lamar delivering the major blow with his chart-topping "Not Like Us."
U.S. federal judge has dismissed Drake's lawsuit against Universal Music Group.
I see Drake's position against Universal. Not Like Us was a song that called one of the biggest stars in history a So now the world start thinking that you're a my they reciting the lyrics in the Super Bowl. Like, fam, that's some shit that is, for all intents and purposes, slanderous. That could cost me my deal with Nike.
No, it can't.
Why?
Because even Nike would understand the same thing that the judge understands, especially legally.
If it's somebody else who had these accusations,
Drake might be heavy enough to weigh the load, but let's just say it was y'all, and somebody accused you of some shit, and y'all had a deal with McDonald's. It lost y'all deal. That's the consequence that he potentially was facing. So it's not like Kendrick said it. If Universal, who is my label, put marketing money behind it to push it, I have a problem with that.
The only caveat that I have in this,
y'all, a federal judge just walked into a courtroom in New York City and threw Drake's lawsuit straight into the trash. Not deferred, not delayed, not sent back for more arguments. Thrown out, dead on arrival. And the streets, the internet, everybody watching this unfold right now, they are not being quiet about it. We talking about one of the biggest rappers alive. A man who built a billion-dollar brand off his image. A man who has marketing teams, legal departments, and more resources than most small countries. And he walked into a federal courtroom in 2025 thinking he was going to use the law to do what he couldn't do on the track, silence Kendrick Lamar. And the judge looked at everything Drake's team put on that table and said, nah, not today. This ain't just a legal story. This ain't just a hip-hop story. This is what happens when a man spends years moving like he's untouchable, and the universe finally sends him the bill all at once. Because Kendrick didn't just beat Drake in music. He beat him in court. And he didn't even have to show up. Let that sit with you. But before we get to 2026 and what this ruling actually means, y'all gotta understand how we got here. Because this story didn't start in a courtroom. It started with two of the most talented rappers alive letting the whole world watch them go to war. And one of them came out of it broken in ways that money can't fix. So lock in, because this one goes all the way back.
You spent some time on tour with Drake, who's from Toronto. Yeah. He's got a song called No New Friends.
Yeah.
You made the cut, presumably.
Yeah.
To be his friend.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Do you have the same motto in your life?
Yeah, definitely.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, but Kendrick, you have so many more new friends in the last year.
Well, I mean, it don't have to mean literal. I mean, you could be acceptive to a few people, you know, associate yourself, but you always want to stay with your day one people and be as honest as possible with them, the people that seen you grind from the bottom.
Here's what people forget. These two men used to be cool. Back in 2011, 2012, Drake and Kendrick were running in the same circles. Kendrick was signed to Top Dog. Drake was already OVERh royalty. They collaborated. They showed love publicly. The internet called them part of the same generation of rap's new kings. Then came the cracks. Subtle at first. Kendrick was dropping albums Good Kid, Mad City in 2012, and the sharpest ears in the game started noticing. Kendrick wasn't just rapping, he was positioning. He was measuring. He was watching everyone around him carefully and quietly, deciding where he actually stood among them. Then October 2023 happens. Drake drops First-Person Shooter with J. Cole. And on that track, Drake calls out what he calls the Big Three himself. Cole and Kendrick as the top three in rap. On the surface, it sounds like love. But Kendrick heard something different in that framing. Because Kendrick Lamar does not see himself as part of a group. He sees himself as alone at the top, and if you put him in a category with other people, even as a compliment, you just issued a challenge, whether you meant to or not. The response was coming. Nobody knew it was going to be this devastating. The 22nd of March 2024, Future and Metro Boomin drop We Don't Trust You. And buried inside that album is a feature that detonated like a grenade in the middle of hip-hop. Kendrick Lamar gets on a track called Like That and drops 8 words that changed everything. Fuck the big three. It's just big me. That's it. 8 words. But those 8 words told Drake exactly where Kendrick was standing and exactly what he thought about being placed beside him. This was not a subtle dig. This was not subtext. This was Kendrick Lamar looking at a compliment and turning it into a declaration of war. The internet went insane within hours. Because what Kendrick did wasn't just disrespect Drake, he told J. Cole to his face that Cole didn't belong in that conversation either. Cole eventually responded, then apologized, then took the track down. Cole folded in real time and the whole world watched it happen. But Drake was not folding. Drake never folds. At least that's what everybody thought. 15th of April 2024, Drake drops Push-Ups. And y'all gotta understand, when Drake fires back, the whole industry pays attention. This man has the biggest fan base in music. He's got the budget, the infrastructure, the marketing machine. He went at Kendrick's height. His deal, his sneaker collabs, he tried to poke holes in the authenticity. He called Kendrick commercial. Said he was chasing streams. Tried to make him small. But here's the problem. Kendrick Lamar was not responding to bars about shoe deals. Kendrick Lamar was building a case. While Drake was poking and prodding, making jokes, and doing social media trolling, Kendrick was loading a weapon that nobody in hip-hop had ever fired quite like this. Then came April 19th. Drake dropped Tailor-Made Freestyle, and this was the move that turned a rap beef into something uglier. He used artificial intelligence to generate the voices of Tupac and Snoop Dogg and put words in their mouths to come at Kendrick. Tupac's estate immediately threatened legal action. The track got removed within days. But the damage was done not to Kendrick, to Drake, because now he'd crossed a line that felt desperate. You Don. The 30th of April 2024, Kendrick Lamar dropped Euphoria. 6 minutes and 27 seconds of some of the most calculated, methodical, personal destruction ever committed to a rap track. This wasn't just a diss song, this was a psychological autopsy. Kendrick didn't just attack Drake's music, he attacked his parenting, his fashion, his cultural roots. Called him a colonizer, a man who benefits from black culture while questioning where he truly belongs within it. He went line by line through the architecture of Drake's persona and told the world it was all constructed, that the man behind the image was not who you think he is. The internet couldn't breathe. Then 3 days later, the 3rd of May 2024, Kendrick dropped 16 inches LA, with a message that shook Drake's entire inner circle. He suggested someone inside OVERh was feeding him information, that he had sources, that he knew things, and that hinted at something far more damaging than just rap bars. It suggested betrayal from inside Drake's own camp. And then on that same day, the 3rd of May 2024, Drake dropped Family Matters. A long record. He went hard, brought up serious personal allegations against Kendrick, mentioned Dave Free, said things designed to hurt Kendrick personally and professionally. For about 20 minutes, Drake's fans thought he'd finally landed the killing blow. Then 20 minutes after Family Matters dropped, Kendrick released Meet the Grams, a letter written to Drake's family, his mother, his father, his son Adonis, and addressed to a daughter Drake allegedly had kept away from the public eye. Kendrick painted Drake in one of the darkest lights of his career. He questioned his character, his relationships, his influence, his behavior around fame, women, and power. Things you cannot easily take back. Things that don't live in the world of rap exaggeration, they live in the world of reputation destruction. And the internet went completely silent for about 30 seconds. Then, it exploded. The 4th of May 2024, one day after Meet the Grams, Kendrick Lamar dropped Not Like Us, and that was it. That was the moment the war ended, even if nobody wanted to admit it yet. Because Not Like Us wasn't just another diss track. It was a West Coast anthem. Mustard's hyphy beat. Pure California energy. Crowd chant structure, the kind of record that doesn't just play in headphones. It plays at cookouts. It plays at parties. It plays out of car speakers rolling through Compton, through Inglewood, through the whole West. Kendrick built a record specifically engineered to be inescapable. You could play it without knowing a single thing about the beef, and it would still make you move. But if you knew every single bar was a blade, Kendrick aimed one of the harshest accusations of the entire battle directly at Drake, on a record that millions of people were streaming before Drake could even formulate a response. The cultural impact was immediate and total. Not Like Us hit #1. It dominated the summer of 2024. It became the soundtrack of a generation of fans who watched two rap giants go to war, and only one of them came out standing. And then, as if the chart performance wasn't enough, Kendrick performed Not Like Us at the Kia Forum in Inglewood for a sold-out victory concert in June 2024. Drake's name echoed through the arena to tens of thousands of people chanting every word back. Then 2025 came, and Not Like Us won the Grammy for Record of the Year, Song of the Year, Best Rap Song, multiple Grammys on a diss track, on a song where Kendrick turned a personal attack into a global anthem. In the history of the Recording Academy, nothing like that had ever happened, and Kendrick Lamar stood on that Grammy stage collecting hardware that was built directly from the wreckage of Drake Aubrey Graham's reputation. And if all that wasn't enough, Kendrick performed at the Super Bowl halftime show in 2025 in front of over 100 million viewers, and he performed Not Like Us, the biggest stage in American entertainment. And Kendrick Lamar chose to use it to remind the entire planet one more time, you are not like us. Drake watched all of that happen from the outside. The 5th of May 2024, one day after Not Like Us dropped, Drake released The Heart Part 6, and in this record he denied everything, said the allegations were fed to Kendrick by Drake's own people as false information to trap him, said there is no secret daughter, said the Predator narrative was manufactured, said he had proof. But here's the thing about releasing a denial track the day after your opponent drops a #1 record that the entire internet has already memorized. Nobody is listening to your defense anymore. The crowd has already made up its mind. The jury deliberated for about 12 hours and came back with a unanimous verdict. And that verdict was too little, too late. The internet didn't just dismiss Heart Part 6. They dissected it. They found holes. They pointed out that Drake's denials felt reactive, not confident. That the energy was wrong. That this didn't sound like a man who knew he had won. It sounded like a man trying to convince himself he hadn't lost. And by the time summer 2024 rolled around, every DJ in America was playing Not Like Us, not Heart Part 6. The streets had spoken. The culture had spoken. And the score was painfully, embarrassingly clear. Kendrick Lamar, everything. Drake, nothing. But Drake wasn't done. Because a man who is used to winning doesn't just accept a loss and walk away. He looks for another angle, another move. And the angle Drake found, the last card he thought he had left to play, was the courtroom. November 2024, Drake's legal team filed a lawsuit against Universal Music Group, his own label, the same company that has been distributing his music, marketing his records, and making billions off his catalog for over a decade. He sued them. The allegation was this: UMG deliberately and actively promoted Not Like Us, a song containing what Drake called defamatory accusations of pedophilia, specifically because they knew it would generate massive profits. Drake argued that UMG, who had Kendrick Lamar signed to Interscope, also a Universal subsidiary, essentially chose money over their own artist's reputation, that they knew the song was attacking Drake, that they boosted it anyway, that they used bots to inflate streams, that they used industry connections to get radio play, that they weaponized their distribution machine against one of their own signed artists. Y'all, this is the part where this stops being just a rap beef and starts being something the legal world had never seen before. A global superstar suing his own label, arguing that a diss song destroyed his reputation. In federal court, in New York City, with full media coverage and the entire internet watching every filing, every motion, every argument, Drake's legal team was not playing. They came with documents. They came with evidence of streaming patterns they claimed were artificial. They pointed to specific instances of radio promotion they said were engineered. They built what looked on paper like a substantial case. And the entertainment world held its breath. Because if Drake won this lawsuit, if a federal judge ruled that a rap diss track constituted defamation, it would change the entire landscape of hip-hop forever. Artists could suddenly face legal consequences for what they say on diss tracks. It would rewrite the rules of the genre that was built on speaking your truth without a filter. The stakes could not have been higher. Here's what happened inside that courtroom. And y'all need to pay close attention to this part, because the judge's reasoning is something that reaches far beyond just Drake and Kendrick. UMG's defense attorney stood before that federal judge and made one core argument that the lyrics in Not Like Us, including the accusations Kendrick Lamar made against Drake, are protected as artistic expression. That rap music, by its nature and by its long legal history, is a form of art that uses hyperbole, exaggeration, metaphor, and provocation as core elements of the craft. That, making an extremely inflammatory accusation in a diss track as intense as that is, does not constitute a provable, actionable statement of fact. It constitutes artistic opinion. And in the United States, opinion is protected speech. They argued that Not Like Us was part of a well-documented, publicly known rap battle that both artists participated in willingly. That Drake himself dropped multiple diss tracks against Kendrick. That both men understood the rules of this engagement. And that no reasonable person listening to that record would interpret Kendrick's lyrics as a factual news report, rather than an artist's aggressive artistic attack within the tradition of hip-hop lyricism. Drake's team pushed back. They pointed to the specific language. They argued that the accusations were presented in a way designed to make the public believe they were factual, that the repetition of those claims across multiple tracks, combined with the cultural dominance of the song, crossed the line from art into defamation. The judge listened to all of it, and then the judge made a decision. October 2025. A United States federal judge in New York City ruled that Drake's defamation case against Universal Music Group was dismissed. Done. Over. The judge's ruling was clear. The pedophilia accusations in Not Like Us are not actionable as defamation, because they constitute non-actionable artistic opinion rather than provable facts. In other words, what Kendrick said on that record, as brutal as it was, as damaging as it was, as publicly humiliating as it was protected. It was art. It was rap. And rap is protected. The judge effectively told Drake, "You entered a rap battle. You threw your own punches. You understood what this was. And now you want the federal government to step in and hand you a win that you could not earn on the track." The answer is no. Let me repeat that for the people in the back. A federal judge in the most powerful legal system in the world looked at everything Drake's attorneys built, all those documents and arguments and filings, and said that Kendrick Lamar's diss track is untouchable by law. That Not Like Us, the song that embarrassed Drake on the charts, at the Grammys, and at the Super Bowl, is also legally bulletproof. And the internet did not miss that moment. The reactions came within minutes. People who had been watching this since May 2024, since the first "Like That" bar dropped, were now watching the final chapter close in real time. Drake had tried music. He lost. He tried the courts. He lost. He appealed, and was still losing. There was no next move on the board that anyone could see, and Kendrick Lamar said absolutely nothing. He didn't post. He didn't react. He didn't need to. The judge already said everything that needed to be said. Let me tell y'all something real before we close this out. Because there's a bigger picture here that goes beyond the beef, beyond the lawsuit, beyond the memes and the jokes and the reaction videos. What we just witnessed over a 2-year period from March 2024 to 2026 is one of the most complete and total dismantlings of a megastar's public image that hip-hop has ever produced. And it was done not just with music, not just with strategy, but with something that's getting harder and harder to fake in the streaming age: authenticity. Kendrick Lamar's entire argument throughout this beef was not complicated. He said Drake is not who he presents himself to be. He said Drake borrows culture, borrows sound, borrows identity, and builds a persona off things he was never actually connected to. He said the image is constructed. And whether you agree or disagree with every specific allegation, Kendrick made the world answered that argument. With streams, with Grammys, with Super Bowl appearances, and now with a federal judge's ruling. Because here's the thing about Not Like Us being protected as artistic opinion. The judge didn't say those lyrics were false. The judge didn't say Kendrick lied. The judge said these are the words of an artist expressing an opinion in the context of a known artistic battle. That's a very different thing. And legally, artistically, and culturally, Kendrick came out of that ruling clean. Drake, meanwhile, is sitting on the other side of all of this. Still one of the best-selling artists in music history. Still rich beyond imagination, but something in his cultural standing, something in the way the streets and the culture look at him shifted during these 2 years and hasn't come back yet. When you sue your own label because a diss track hurt your feelings and you still lose the narrative that forms around you is not one of power. It's one of a man who didn't know when to stop fighting a battle he'd already lost. Now, let me be clear. Drake Aubrey Graham is not finished. He has announced he's appealing. He will keep moving. He's not going away. He has the resources and the talent to rebuild whatever this beef took from him. History has seen bigger comebacks. The music industry has a short memory when the hits are right. But right now in 2026, as we stand here looking back at everything that happened from that first "Like That" verse to this federal ruling, the scoreboard only reads one way. Kendrick Lamar won the rap battle. Kendrick Lamar won the Grammys. Kendrick Lamar won the Super Bowl. And Kendrick Lamar, without setting foot inside a courtroom, just won in federal court too. Somebody said this beef was over when Not Like Us dropped in May 2024. Somebody else said it was over at the Grammys in 2025. But maybe it's really over now. Because when a judge in a federal court in New York City closes the last door a man had left to walk through, that's not just a loss in music. That's a verdict on an era. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Y'all already know what it is. If you've been rocking with this channel, hit that subscribe button, because we breaking down everything the blogs miss and the mainstream media won't say straight. And share this with somebody who still thinks Drake got a W somewhere in this story. It's over.